everyone. We're going to go ahead and kick off August Pendorama. We're so happy to have all of you joining us, and let's get started. So as you know, when you signed in to this meeting, this is recorded and we will be sharing out the recordings after the fact. So just kind of stay tuned for a follow-up email by the end of the week. And we want to have this be as interactive as possible. I've prepped the speakers to let them know that you will be asking tons of questions. So I'm excited to see what all of those are. So feel free to utilize the chat. This is like a regular Zoom meeting. So if you do ever want to call off camera, ask a question live, feel free to do so as well. So get comfortable and let's get started. So we have Laura joining us from Verblo, Ryan from Job Nimbus, and we have some special guests from Pendo and Mind the Product to give a little highlights of things that will be happening at Pendomonia. So without further ado, Laura, I'm going to have you kick us off, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you can start on your end.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. We're excited to be here. All right, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Let me know at any time if that stops working for some reason. So as I mentioned, we are from Verblio, and we're thrilled to be here at Pendorama August 2022 to talk a little bit about how we were able to leverage Pendo in a new and pretty simple way to give us some insights that we really needed to address one of our most important audiences. I am joined here today by my colleague, Megan Skalbeck, who is a content marketing manager at Verblio. I head up the product marketing team, which is about a year and a half old at Verblio, so we're relatively new. And we're going to be talking a bit about how we used Pendo to better understand our writer community. So Verblio calls ourselves the most scalable content creation platform and marketplace out there. And we are powered by thousands of happy human writers, all based in the US. And so writers are a really critical part of our ecosystem. You'll hear a little bit more about that in a second, but they are a huge audience for us and really critically important to helping us help our customers create content at scale. And content is a really thrilling business to be in right now. It's no longer just a channel. It's the one common thread that's fueling all those other channels that marketers are scrambling to make effective for themselves. It's really become a lifeline for pretty much any business that wants to grow. And for the smarter ones, it's a key growth driver. So really looking at content as a way to unlock or use it as a lever for growth. And so as a product marketer joining, I was really excited to come to a company that had theoretically a huge addressable market, a product that everyone needs. So it should be easy. It should be in some ways a marketer's dream, not having to create a category or to pretend you're creating a category or to create demand. We know that there's a huge need for it out there. And what we have to do is really capture that demand and make sure that we are able to create the type of content that can actually help companies scale. So our ideal customer profile is any company that views content marketing as a growth lever for their business. So that's a pretty diverse audience for us just on the customer side. It could be a niche legal SEO agency, could be a plumber in Arkansas looking to drum up business, a mega publisher of health content or celebrity gossip, or a marketing content leader trying to launch a new e-learning product. We have VC-backed companies that are looking to get off the ground really, really quickly and block out the sun for their competition. And the commonality between all of those folks is that they understand that content is a really great way to do that. But even though the addressable market is really big and we've got a product that people want, we're a double-sided marketplace. And so that adds a really big layer of complexity for us in understanding how to grow our own business. The two sides of our business are inextricably linked. So we know that we need a really healthy marketplace of writers. We need those writers to be happy. We need them to be active and interested in working for our customers. And so while for years we generally understood our customers' desired outcomes from using our platform, we realized early this year that while the beating heart of our business, our marketplace of these thousands of writers, was diverse and dynamic, what we knew about them was pretty static. And in a lot of cases, it was kind of stale. So we had a real moment where we said, how are we going to learn about this other community, this other ideal customer profile on the writer side that is, thousands of disparate individuals with different backgrounds and skills and goals, really different motivations for working with us. And how do we do that really quickly? We knew that we need to keep those folks happy and active in order to allow us to keep up with the ever-changing algorithms, the content marketing industry in general, and just new types of content and customers. So we really had to come to terms with the fact that we had a huge blind spot and that we needed to act quickly to resolve that. But part of the challenge was we had a lot of limitations. At that time, we had no budget for writer market research, and writers don't pay us. So it was a little bit challenging to understand, how are we going to invest in a way that may not ever tie directly to revenue, or where we may not be able to prove that our efforts led to dollars. We did a lot of qualitative research, like interviews and some longer form surveys over email and other things, but it was really not giving us the scale that we needed or the speed that we needed to make rapid improvements to our writer experience. And then even if we did magically get budget for something like that, we knew that our marketplace is so diverse that it would be difficult to even assemble the right market research panel to understand our writer community. And so that's when we realized that we had something in-house. We were already using Pendo for in-app guidance, for onboarding, for NPS, and for product announcements. But we had a tool in front of us that could actually help us very rapidly get to those insights. So I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Megan to talk about our Pendo March Madness and what we did to get those rapid insights about our writer community.
Yeah, so hello everyone. So our solution to this, what Laura was just talking about, is a project we call March Madness. And this was really spurred by the realization that we had accepted best practices in-house of how to use in-app Pendo guides with our customers, right? You need to leave a question up. If you're gathering feedback, you need to leave a question up for a certain amount of time to get significant data. You don't want to annoy them with too many questions too often. And we'd kind of been operating by those principles on the writer side until we realized that actually our writers engage a lot more when we have in-app Pendo guides. They don't get annoyed. They actually love giving us feedback. And so it was really a light bulb moment where we realized, okay, we don't need to take the same approach. We can iterate a lot faster, ask a lot more questions with that second side of our marketplace. And so what we did was every day in March this year, we asked a new question via the in-app Pendo guides. It was my crash course in learning how to use Pendo. So there were a few human errors there that we worked through that our writers were fortunately very patient with. And we got a ton of data. So I'll talk real quickly about both the kind of what our process was, what this actually looked like in action, as well as a couple of the big learnings that came out of it. So this was essentially our process. The first step was coming up with the questions we wanted to ask. So we actually asked the entire company and all the different teams, what would they want to learn from writers? What questions would help inform their work? Had a spreadsheet of those questions, put the first one, created a Pendo in-app guide for that, duplicated that, and then each week was in there scheduling out these questions in weekly batches. So that piece was really simple, fortunately. Then, and the second half of that then was that third step there, followed up in our writer forum in the app, which allowed us to get more comments and feedback and spark a conversation in our forum about those different topics that we were asking about. And then finally, we had just a small incentive for writers. If they answered all 31 questions, we sent them Verblio socks and stickers, which was just, again, a small token of appreciation that that was a big deal for them and that they really appreciated. So I'll go deeper on those middle two steps there. This is what it actually looked like. This is one of the questions that we asked during that month. And very intentionally, we made these simple multiple choice polls, right? We wanted to make it really easy for writers when they logged in to build this daily habit of engaging, to not have to spend time writing out a response, to know that they could log in, make their choice, and get on with doing their work on the Verblio platform. And so we asked about everything from product opportunities to their freelancing strategies. A lot of our writers are full-time freelancers, so we were able to get insights on that aspect of their work as well. And then, as I mentioned, my favorite part about this was following up in our writer forum with the responses every day. So again, this allowed us to pair the quantitative data from Pendo, keep those questions simple, and yet still capture all those comments and insights and qualitative feedback from writers who wanted to give that. And so we'd ask related questions, sparked conversations, got even more learnings from that, gave writers a chance to weigh in even if they missed the day's question, and generally just made the forum was a really engaging place that month. So that was really cool to see as well. And then overall, our results were pretty fantastic. So we had a 60% average writer response rate throughout that month, which again, when you've got a question that's only live for a day, that's pretty cool to see. And we ended up sending socks to 101 writers, much more than I was expecting. There was a bit of delay in sending socks as a result, but they really appreciated that piece of it. And it was fun to give them just a small token of our appreciation for all their insights. And then the last day of the month, we asked them to just rate how do they feel about this month of questions and give us comments and feedback on that. And it really, their feedback here highlighted like a few different ways that this impacted our relationship with our writers. And so I wanted to highlight just kind of a couple of the different facets. This writer, the main point I noticed here was that it made them want to continue working with us for a long time. So this is directly tied to their longevity, our writer retention. That was awesome to see. The next one was this was a sentiment actually that we saw from a lot of writers, that they appreciated the opportunity to take a step back, think about what they do, how they work on our platform, see how writers do that and approach it, and learn about what they could do differently. So that was another cool piece of seeing how that actually improved their different workflows. Our third was this one I really love to see. So it's a writer who's currently only writing part-time, but these different conversations and insights that they saw gave them hope about transitioning to full-time in the future. So again, that's more writer capacity for us, more content for our customers, win-win on both sides there. And then finally, this was a writer who already logs in daily. So we weren't necessarily increasing engagement on that end, but they appreciated the questions and they really appreciated seeing our effort in asking these questions, caring about these topics that our writers care deeply about, and talking to us. And so this was just pure brand loyalty here that we could see coming out in some of this feedback. So again, all these different areas that it impacted our relationship with our writers, in addition to, as we'll see, impacting our actual product roadmap. So we'll get into just a couple of the big learnings that came out of this. We learned about writer workflow. We learned that over 70% of them spend at least as much time researching as writing. So this was a huge opportunity for us. How could we help streamline or facilitate that process? What might that look like? What if we provided outlines? What if we helped provide vetted sources for research? How could we reduce that part of the writing process? And then this was probably my favorite question of all. We asked which feature would improve their Verblio experience the most. And you can see on the left there that giving customers deadlines to accept or decline submissions got over half of the vote, even relative to things like that second one where we would give customers the ability to tip writers for stellar submissions. And so this was a really interesting one because to understand our platform, just some brief background, currently customers historically have not had a deadline. So they get a submission, they can think about it, they might get multiple submissions, but there's no deadline for them to actually accept or decline that submission. And what we heard from writers is that this was a real pain point because it means that their income is not predictable. And so for our writers who are full-time freelancers, that's directly impacting the number of hours that they're going to spend with us. And this was a comment we'd heard from writers over the years. We'd heard this in isolated instances of feedback and comments, but having this data from our March Madness, from the poll, was able to help us expedite that. And we're actually testing and rolling out deadlines for customers right now as we speak. So that's a really cool example of getting this data from Pendo allowed us to expedite that, change our product roadmap. And another of the questions that we asked if they do write for some of other content creation platforms, some of our competitors, what's their favorite thing about that? And again, we saw so much of the feedback was tied to that same pain point. And so this also helped inform how we think about adding that new feature in, creating more mutual accountability across our platform between writers and customers. And again, giving writers the confidence that they need to write more on our platform, and that there'll be a more predictable income stream there. And then finally, I'll touch briefly, we asked questions about new products or features that we could offer on the writing side. And it was, again, this is something that would have taken us a lot longer to learn typically, but we were able to get data really quickly, learning that 90% of them would be interested in a certification for DEI writing, right? That was really cool to see, and just helping us build that out, as well as an SEO mini course. Again, almost 98% who said they'd be interested in learning more about that if we offered it. And then we've also thought about providing different types of work to our writers, and saw over 3/4 would enjoy editing other people's writing. And so that could be a service that we would offer as well. And we were able to learn about all of this so quickly in March. And again, it's informing our roadmap. And that's just been really cool to see. And again, getting the feedback from the writers in the forum will help us close that loop. So they weren't just answering these Pendo questions in a vacuum. We were giving them the results, giving them a chance to weigh in with more, and also show that we cared about the responses, following up on those, and actually doing something with that data. So.
And we have a couple questions that I think are great follow-ups to everything you just shared. Two are, I think, very closely related to segmentation. So the first one is, any insights on the segmentation or selection of the users that were surveyed? And closely related, did you see a difference in engagement between new versus seasoned writers?
Yeah, those are great questions. So I will say the biggest thing there wasn't a difference in engagement between the new and seasoned writers. I would say that the most valuable thing was in the forum, the new writers getting to see the comments and insights from the more seasoned writers. So we had questions about certain features of our app. For example, writers can recycle a post if it's been declined by a customer. They had the opportunity to recycle that post for another customer if they're asking about a similar topic. And a lot of our new writers didn't even know how that feature worked, and were able to learn about it from our seasoned writers when we asked about their usage of that feature. So that was kind of one of the biggest things there. But overall, the engagement level among the two groups was pretty similar. We had some brand new writers actually get socks because they dived right in and were answering all the questions. And then I would say any other segmentation, again, as Laura said at the beginning, like, our writers are a really diverse group. So it really runs the gamut for us of, like, they write maybe a few articles a month for us on the side just for a little extra cash, to writers who are both full-time freelancers and or full-time freelancers strictly on Verblio. So it was cool for us to, like, get insights across those populations and see, like, okay, for this, we could again cross-reference that data and see, okay, for our most engaged writers, here's what they're seeing. But again, that middle population of writers who maybe aren't full-time but could be, seeing what we could do for them there. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, hopefully we're always looking at new ways we can collect data. Right now, most of the data, or historically, most of the data we've collected has been during the intake process. So as I mentioned, they're sort of frozen in time based on our knowledge about them. But we're seeing how Pendo could help us change that. And quite frankly, I think most people operate with pretty lean teams today. It's also helped us sort of vet or bridge the gap between maybe product improvements we can't quite make yet, but that we can sort of test in a lower no-code way in the platform, and then give our product team some really good insights right out of the gate. So it's been incredibly helpful for us, and I think this is just the beginning. So thank you so much.
Awesome. I actually have one question. This is kind of selfishly for myself, but I'm just curious, when you do the polls, how are you putting them in to kind of like that forum? Like, what are you utilizing?
Yeah, so when when we followed up with the results in the forum, or yeah, so that's our writer forum in our app.
Okay.
So that's part of our platform. And so I was just going in there daily. I was pulling the percentages and the responses from Pendo, and then posting those in the forum with whatever relevant adjacent questions we had about that data. Is that what you're asking?
No,
yeah, cool.
That's perfect. Yep. Sounds great. Well, thank you both. That was really a great presentation. We got a lot of like great actionable insights and feedback from all this. And also the slides were beautiful. So I don't know if you created them yourselves, but they are beautiful. So we appreciate it. So we'll have you stop and then we'll have Brian present from there.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Hey, everybody. It's good to be here today. I'm going to share my screen really quickly and we can get rolling. Okay, so I'm Ryan Quackenbush, a product manager here at Job Nimbus, and I'll tell you a little bit about myself and a little bit about Job Nimbus here in a minute. But today I want to talk about some no-code product hacks that we're using here through Pendo. And first off, I want to start off with sort of a situation. Let's say that you're a product manager at a hypergrowth B2B SaaS company, and you run into a few different scenarios. And this is sort of your life as a product manager. Many of you on this call are probably on product teams or marketing teams that are very fast-paced, fast-growing companies, lots of competition. This is how I feel oftentimes in my job. You've got lots going on. There's an incessant need for growth and speed, and there's more development to do than there are developers. So the first scenario is you have this really cool idea that you'd love to test. What if we added gamification to our product? But again, same situation. You know you don't have the development resources or the time. So what do? Next scenario. Let's say you are going to change pricing models from a tiered pricing model from an open access to a tiered pricing model. You could go out and do a bunch of development and see how it goes, but obviously that's not always a good plan. You want to do some testing first. Third scenario, you're developing a new product, you get into early beta, kind of a closed beta situation. Despite doing a lot of user testing, you're realizing, holy cow, I think our users need a little bit more guidance on using the product and getting up and running. So what are your options? Well, your options are wait, wait till things die down. It's never going to happen. Or you can blow up the next bunch of sprints and ask a dev team or ask your dev team to jump on these new things. And that's not a good situation either. A third option, however, is you can use Pendo. I will walk you through how at Job Nimbus, we have tackled these three situations in particular. So a little bit about me. I am an avid adventurer. I have spent most of my career in data-focused roles. I spent the majority of my career, I started out of undergraduate at Walmart. I was in merchandising and then finished in a product role there. And then since then, went to business school and have spent time at B2B SaaS companies and a couple different startups. And then there's also my family right there in the middle. And I'll tell you a little bit about Job Nimbus as well. We are in business to make contractors heroes. Our company our product is a CRM, project management, payments, financing, and communications platform for contractors. We started in the roofing market about 9 years ago. In 2020, raised $53 million of growth equity as a Series A. And we have been developing new products left and right and running full speed. This is a snapshot of how we're using Pendo here at Job Nimbus. Tons of different use cases. We're very experimentation driven, very data driven, very curious and fast moving. And so we're using Pendo for a lot of different situations. And you'll see a number of these throughout the scenarios that we'll kind of tackle with how we experience them here at the company. So first off is gamification. We said, what if we introduced gamification to our product? We know it's like theoretically a really good thing to do. We know that you read in articles and stuff like that people have higher engagement. In the products we use, we often see it, especially B2C products. So we thought, okay, let's test it out. Rather than, again, interrupting a bunch of sprints, pulling away developers, one of our awesome team members had the idea and started to implement it. His name is Brad. And what we did is when someone created an automation in our product would be something like, if an estimate is sent out to a customer, then we would advance that customer in our workflow. Or if we get one of our contractors gets a lead then it would, an automation you could set up would put a task on a sales rep's calendar to reach out to them, et cetera. Automation they're a super, super sticky part of the product. And so we want people to use them more and more. And so the test we did was, if we do a little success dialogue, you can see up here, this achievement unlocked for their first automation, would we have an improvement in results? And then you can see also that we did a little bit of an extension of that, where getting up to those first 10 or 15 automations, I have a couple screenshots here, but your first one, we used Pendo to do all of this to show the progress of someone as they create more and more automations. After the first test, the stickiness factor, so daily active users over monthly active users, increased by 2x for those that were part of the test group versus the control group that received just that simple gamification success dialog box that we created in Pendo. And so obviously now we have a great case to go and say, hey, we need to add more gamification into the product, and we won't be doing it blindly. Next situation is paywalling. So we had an open access product. We have developed a lot more features, and it's time for us to go to a tiered pricing model. Well, the product is totally open. It would take a ton of dev effort to go in and lock down certain features. But again, we thought, what if we used Pendo? Each of these tags here that say pro are little images that are overlaying the settings in our settings screen. And if you click on them, you get a Pendo, it's a Pendo tag, by the way. And if you click on it, you get a Pendo pop-up if you're an admin and you have rights to sort of adjust your subscription to help you choose a new subscription so you can get access to those features. And then on the very right, if you are a non-admin, a different guide pops up that we did a little tiny bit of development, but we have some HTML and JavaScript that if you click the Ask My Admin button, you can actually send them an email. You can send your admin an email through SendGrid, and it just skips the step of them having to go find them in the office or remember that later on. This is another example of the paywall. This is still undergoing, but so we don't have tons of results to report yet, but a super hacky solution that for us is going to prove out, is this a really good idea or not? We're getting a ton of feedback from our customers on their perspectives. Overall, going really well, and they get it. They see the value in the features we've added recently, and then they understand that this needs to happen. The next one is a new product we developed called Smart Estimates. This is a product that I manage, and I'll explain a little bit about it, and then we'll dive deeper into the process, the product development process, and how we use Pendo throughout it. So Smart Estimates is a way that you can create estimates from measurements. So imagine you're a roofer and you need to create a materials list so you can figure out how much this job should cost. Well, there's a lot of math that's involved in this roof, and they have to do either on pen and paper. Most of the market's using pen and paper, or they're doing spreadsheets or otherwise. We created a tool where all they need to do is they need to measure the dimensions of a roof. They put in those measurements, it calculates all the materials for them, and they get a really accurate estimate. Or they can use a flyover technology called Eagle View that actually dimensionalizes the home and gives them the measurements. That's integrated in there as well. So that's the lay of the land on the Smart Estimates. First, you create the template, and then you use that template to create estimates by inputting those measurements. That'll be some helpful context as we go throughout. And this is sort of like just a quick snapshot of product development process. Nothing different here versus anywhere else. I'll talk you through how we went through discovery, delivery, awareness and launch, and then adoption and usage, and how Pendo played a role throughout the whole entire process. So let's start with discovery. First things first, we know that user interviews and testing are critical to product development, but oftentimes it's really hard to get a hold of users. And we have seen that our email response rate is something like 3%, which is really hard because you're also wearing out your users. We have 6 product teams that are trying to do outreach. We also have customer success teams that are trying to do outreach. And if we're using just email and we're blasting these out, it's just not a great experience. It's going to overwhelm our customers and they're going to start responding less and less. So we thought, wait a second, what if we use Pendo? And this is an example from another project we're working on right now to build improved sales analytics. But we have a pop-up that is segmented out specifically to a small group of people that would be really, really useful to give us feedback. It's those that are using our current dashboards that we want to get feedback from them based on their experience today and how we can improve for the future. So we put a little Pendo pop-up in there and got really awesome responses to do user interviews. And we've been conducting a bunch of them throughout the last couple of weeks. The key that I want to point out here as a tactical tip is using segments. If you haven't used segments, it's something to dive into because they're really, really valuable. This is an example of a segmentation that I've been using. I liked it because it shows a couple of the different options that are available with your segments. So I'm segmenting our visitors in a couple different ways. I'm saying I want them to be people that have never seen this one specific guide, or they've never seen these two specific guides. And they are also part of a CSV list that I uploaded, because that's a group that has a feature flag that's turned on. So you can upload a CSV list to create a segment as well. And then I have another one. I only wanted to segment to people with admin access, which are people in our world that can change settings, etc. So if you're not using segments today, it's a super awesome thing to explore. It can be very, very helpful for guides and analytics, etc. Then using this new targeted guide approach for requesting interviews, we've had a guide response rate of 13.5%, more than 4x what our previous email response rate was. We've had really good success of engaged people, and this is something that we've started to do across different product teams, and it's been really, really useful. So that's product discovery. Now let's talk about product delivery. Our product development, our rollout plan for this particular product, Smart Estimates, was sort of 3 phases: closed beta, open beta, and general availability. And I'll talk through how each of the segments in particular and how we used Pendo, as well as the success metrics that we were trying to achieve in each of those before we moved on to the next phase. So during closed beta, we wanted people to be able to completely self-onboard to the product. We didn't want them to have to call support. We didn't want them to need any outside help, to be able to just do it fully in the product. We also wanted to make sure that there were no game-breaking bugs before we started to scale up to our tens of thousands of accounts. So on the first one, we knew that we needed a little bit more help within the product. And we toyed with different methods, tried out different things, but we landed on a cool guide where it's initiated when on click, when there's a little need help button. You can see at the top left of my screen. If you click on that need help button, it will pop open a guide that gives you a few different resources. You can watch an overview video of what the product is. You can take a training that our learning and development, 2 different trainings that our learning and development teams have created. And then you can read an article in our knowledge base. Or if you click show me how in the guide, it will advance you to an in-app guide with YouTube videos embedded that are going to give you step-by-step instructions. We have seen super awesome interaction with this guide, and it has been extremely, extremely helpful. It's not invasive because it's not popping up all the time by itself. It's only there when people do need help, and it's a pattern that we're going to be exploring using in many other parts of the product. The cool metric coming out of this is those who completed the template used about 50% of those who completed the template, 58% of those who completed the template used the guide. And so super, super high interaction. And those that didn't complete used the guide at much lower rates. Then on the trying to get no game-breaking bugs out of the product before we advanced to our open beta, we just added a little button that looked similar to the need help one. It's just a quick survey of sharing feedback, a great way for us to catch bugs. In fact, this weekend, 6 o'clock on Friday, someone submitted feedback. We saw it Monday morning, fixed the bug. Monday afternoon, sent it back to the customer, and they're like a raving fan. Didn't need to go to support, didn't need to go to any other channels, because we have this nice little feedback mechanism right built into the product, and we can address things and see patterns and notice, oh yeah, 5 people have said this is probably a global issue, and we need to just address it before it goes through all the support escalations. So the result of that one, we fixed a lot of bugs, as is common in an early beta situation. Okay, so then we moved to open beta. Our success criteria were met for the prior one. And now we want to convert 9% of our users from their old form of estimating to this new form of estimating. And we want to make sure that less than 10% of accounts are calling our support teams for help. Those are our two kind of success criteria. And this is where we started to get a little bit more usage. So there's 200 customers of ours, which is something like 1,600 users or so. They are then they were in there, and we were able to watch much more quantitatively their behavior and learn from the data that way. So 2 places to be aware of. This may not be news to everyone, but I thought I'd just be sure to share. The dashboards are super, super helpful. So we have set up some dashboards based on exposure, activation, use, and reuse. And we look at a lot of data based on these dashboards. And then to dive a little bit deeper, I've done a lot of custom reports, account reports, visitor reports, etc. And those have been really useful for us to understand our funnel metrics and see where, because we've tagged everything in our products with Pendo, to see exactly the step-by-step where people are going and where they might be getting stuck and where they might need help, and where we can lean in with our in-app guides or other trainings. And then as we look at the funnel, we can see how many people engaged but didn't continue. And so we went back in and we looked at our most important group, those that had started a template but didn't finish it. And we built another segment around them that's constantly updating, that they had seen the announcement guide, but they hadn't finished this specific task. And then we remarket to them. We say, hey, just take 20 minutes to complete this template, and you're going to save your sales team a ton of time. So, and then we deep link them right back into the product. It's been super helpful to have the visibility, because we've tagged so much that we can now do funnel marketing. And we started doing that funnel marketing in our open beta. And then that scales into when we have launched the product, which was just last week. And overall success metrics, we did convert the 9% to the new estimating method, and our support calls were around 5%, which is much less than the 10%. So through those in-app guides, we're able to head off a lot of those support questions that needed to happen, or that may have happened otherwise. And then quickly on awareness and launch, of course, we're using guides to do feature announcements and deep link people right into the product. We also are using in-context marketing, and we've seen this is actually a different situation, but we've found that our best click-through rates are on in-context little buttons. And so this one is right on one of the pages where you would create an estimate. It says, hey, it just basically says, create good, better, best, and multi-trade estimates. Click on the button, you see the little pop-up, and then they can go and learn a little bit more. We've had really, really good click-through rate on that, because it's in context rather than just popping everything up to everyone. Segmenting, putting it in the right spot is super, super important. And then on the adoption and usage, again, we are doing a lot of monitoring data and making tweaks. And after launching last week, we have seen that our 90-day goal is already 25% complete. And we are able to see that super easily and be able to dive into issues that we have, because we have so much visibility to the data in Pendo. And we have so many no-code tools to be able to intervene when necessary. A couple of takeaways that I'll share here: be creative and ask, is there anything I could do this in Pendo? I tend to be that way, that I'm like, oh, man, I don't want to blow up the sprint. I don't want to like derail the developers. Like, there's got to be another way. And that's sort of a culture we've created here at our team in our company. And we do some really interesting things with Pendo. Knowing your tools is super important. Experimenting with what Pendo has is incredibly helpful. Testing and learning, because not everything's going to work. Pendo is a great way to do that. And then, of course, always tagging everything you can, collecting the data and using that data to make decisions. Pendo has been one of the most important keys for us to enabling that to happen. The goal here is to go from a lot of this kind of crazy life on a product team to a little bit more of this celebrations and happiness when things go well. That's the goal. We've seen how that works, and it's helped a ton here at Pendo, and would be happy to answer any questions you have.
Ryan, this was really awesome. There's a comments in the chat, and I even got like a personal message in the chat that every product team should see this presentation of how they can utilize Pendo. So this was really great.
Yeah, thanks.
Your partner, Brad, was furiously answering all the questions in the chat. So there isn't really anything here live that we need to answer. But this was really great. And I hope this gave everyone a ton of ideas of how they could be utilizing Pendo, not really even on the product team, but I saw on your thing, event marketing, there's a lot of great ways that you can be just utilizing Pendo guides to get the word out, then to get those results than just sending emails. So I really appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks so much.
Yeah, and this is recorded, and we will be sending this out after by the end of this week. So Friday, you will have it. So great. So just a few other wrap-up slides that I want to kick off. Some other cool stuff. Like I said, we do have some team members here that are going to be joining me. So if you have been living under a rock, Pendemonium is happening, and it's less than a month away, and we're super excited and hope that you all are able to join us. If you haven't registered already, you can do so still through going to pendo.io/Pendemonium. There is a special discount for anybody who's attending today. $100 off using the discount code Pendorama at the checkout. We would love to see you. We're having a great festival. Last year, we took to kind of the festival feel, and we're continuing to do that. It's going to be an indoor-outdoor experience with a lot of food trucks and a lot of great ways to network and learn from each other, like you already have within this chat, and making that live. We have a lot of inspirational keynotes, tons of breakout sessions, and I also wanted to highlight our workshops that are happening Monday before things kick off. So Hannah, I'm going to have you take it away with your workshops that are happening on Monday.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. I'm Hannah Mullis, and I am a lead customer education manager here at Pendo. So some of you may have heard of Pendo Essentials already, and Pendo Essentials is definitely the entry level getting started. I'm new here. My company just bought this. I don't know what I'm doing yet. And that Pendo Essentials is going to be for you if you fall into those categories. So we're going to go over everything that Pendo can do, from building guides, making segments, tagging, and analytics. And it's very much a no adult left behind. Most people who attend this are new and quote, don't know what's going on. So if you feel like if you're like, how did Ryan do that? I don't even know what this is right now. Then Pendo Essentials is going to be great for you. Now, if you already feel like you know how to use Pendo, you don't have to know how to custom code. It doesn't mean anything technical, but we are unveiling our new Pendo admin certification. This is brand new. You all are the first people to see our new badges for this. But this is a way for those of you who are looking to become a Pendo admin at your org. And this could mean a lot of things depending on how big your org is. You may be the only person at your company leveraging Pendo because it's very small, or it could be you and a few other people. But we're going to talk about how to actually build a governance model. So if you want to have all these guides pop up, if you want to do what Ryan did and have all these different use cases, how do we work across departments to be able to do that? So that's the governance model piece, and you'll actually be brainstorming and building this out during the training. You'll also be able, or not be able, you'll also design a Pendo implementation plan. So if your goal is to deflect support tickets, we're going to give you time and critiques and help on how to actually implement Pendo from start to finish to achieve one of your goals that you're trying to do at your org. So because of this, we're not going to have time to talk about how to build a guide, how tagging works. So you should already have that kind of baseline information if you're going to sign up for Pendo admin, or else I think you may be a little, you may feel like you're struggling a little bit to keep up. So as long as you have that baseline Pendo knowledge, you'll be totally fine. We are almost sold out of seats for the Pendo admin certification. So if you're on the fence about it, just know that we're almost at the cap for it. But yeah, these are going to be the 2 certification workshops we have, and I hope to see you there.
Awesome. Thanks, Hannah. Ross, do we have you on the line?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just gonna say now I'm on site, sort of working at another festival just for a few days. So if you can hear lots of beeping and things moving around, today's the build day, and so I can only apologise for the background noise. If it gets too horrid, just shout and I'll mime or something, or just type. So just
You're all good.
Okay, cool, wicked. Thanks for having us, Erin. I'm really excited to be part of a Pendemonium this year. I'm assuming everyone knows by now, the product came into be part of the Pendo family earlier on the year in Feb. We are a sort of a community of product managers, and we have been running training workshops and conferences and providing content to help people be better product managers for the past decade. And Pendo is sort of like the next journey, or the next part of that journey for us. And so we run a series of 4 workshops, 5 now, with the introduction of our leadership course. But also, I think you skipped ahead, whoever's in charge of the deck. But we're bringing one of our courses to Pendemonium. It's Product Management Foundations. And so this is aimed at people who are relatively new in the role. They are in post, but they've been in post maybe for 6 months to a year or so. Saying that, we do get a lot of people who are maybe a bit more experienced but want to refresh on the basics. And that seems to work very well. And if we're doing it with a group of people who are all from the same team, you might even get the VP of product in there coming in and sort of being a level setter person, or a level setting thing for the whole team. But if you're coming at Pendemonium, you might be a new person or relatively new in the role. And it teaches you essentially some of the key skills and the key philosophies that you'll need to be a successful product manager. And so it's not just tactical skills, it's tactical and mindset skills. So we don't want to just give you the answers. We don't want to just give you the tools. We want to give you the toolbox and a range of tools. I'm dragging this analogy out a bit, but you get the meaning. We want to equip you to be a critical thinking product manager. So we've got a few different modules in there. We'll take a look at the product development life cycle. We have a sort of double diamond model that goes from sort of discovery out to ideation and into sort of refining that, the kind of different hats that you have to wear throughout the process as a product manager. We talk through goals alignment, so how you use OKRs, KPIs, and these other kind of acronyms that bring people together and get you all singing from the same song sheet, so that you can go and develop your product. And that takes us to hypotheses and testing, how you take an idea, validate it, go out, run tests, speak to your users, iterate on that, and why that's a valuable exercise to do. We sort of do a bit of a bird's eye view of product road mapping, which in and of itself is like you could easily do a 2-day, 3-day workshop on this subject alone, but we sort of try and tackle it in an hour or so, just giving you the different kind of broad strokes of what it is, how you might see it used. A lot of the answers that we give you in product management foundations are, there's no one answer, and although that's frustrating for a lot of people, hopefully it starts to instill the idea that product management is a muscle and you have to flex it. You can't just do one thing over time. And then we teach through sort of what the role is of the product manager within the team, how you lead product teams. You know, a lot of the time, maybe we get people who have been in a project management role, and they've now been told that they are a product manager, or they're a business analyst, and they've been told they're a product manager. And so what does it look like working with a product team, working with your dev team, speaking with UI folks, going to, external stakeholders as well, and the different methods of communications that you can use to make that a successful thing. I think I updated the slide for this as the talk was on. So if you hit refresh, you'll see our two lovely trainers, Stephanie and TJ. There we are. These guys have been teaching with us since before the pandemic. So we used to run these workshops in person all the time. This will be the first time since 2020 that these have been taught in person in a room with a bunch of other people, because our model is currently remote, so we're very excited about that. You'll see lots of post-it notes going up on walls, lots of big sheets of paper being scrawled on as we get ideas out onto a page, and we try and make it a very collaborative and interactive workshop. And these guys are great. We have about 30 trainers on the books who are all working product managers, and at the end of every session, we ask all of our attendees to rate our trainers on a scale of 1 to 10 for that session, so we know how they're doing. Consistently, Stephanie and TJ are scoring 9s and above every time, and the average you might see sort of 8.5s. They're all excellent, and so I'm really stoked that Stephanie and TJ are going to be in Raleigh with us, because I haven't seen these guys in years. I don't think I've actually met Stephanie in person, just like this. So I'm super excited to just go and hang out with those guys. So if you're interested, I think there's like 8 tickets left maybe for Product Management Foundations with us. We'd love to have you there.
Amazing. Thanks, Ross.
All right.
So yes, those are the workshops that are happening on Monday at Pendorama. So please join us if you're able to. The other thing that I always like to touch base on at the end of every Pendorama is, as you can see, there's a lot of ways that you can utilize Pendo, and we want to make sure that you're getting the most out of it. You all have a CSM that you should know and love, so please reach out to them if anything kind of flagged your interest and you wanted to know how you could utilize that in your own platform. Please reach out to them and they can help out. And we will, at Pendemonium, will be revamping our Pendo user groups. So if you're going to be in town for Pendemonium, we're excited to have you meet people within these specific local cities. We're going to have you all meet together just to kind of be face to face, and you can continue the user groups after Pendemonium. We still are having a refer a friend program, so please be sure to connect with us if you have another product manager or somebody who could utilize Pendo at their company. We have a refer program and you can earn up to $550. And then lastly, as Ross mentioned, Mind the Product and Pendo have joined forces, and we do have a 50% off discount for Mind the Product membership if you would like to join the membership of Mind the Product. So thank you. This was a great Pendorama. We're super excited to hopefully see all of you at Pendemonium in a few short weeks. But thank you for your time, and the recording will be sent out in just a little bit. So thanks so much. Bye.